We're starting off again today with a little reminder that English spelling is all about meaning, and all of the parts of orthography work together to help us understand the meaning of the word. So, morphology, which is the parts of words and how they work together, phonology, which is the phones or phonemes that we hear from the different letter combinations, the graphemes inside the words. And the etymology is the history and the story of the words. And all of those parts work together to help communicate to us as quickly as possible what that word might mean. Today, we're going to be looking mostly at morphology. And I'm going to do a quick reminder here that all words have a base, and some words are just a base. And those are actually called free bases. Now, you can take the base of a word and you can add either a prefix before the base or a suffix after the base to help build other words. And all of these words that would share a base are considered part of a word family. And prefixes and suffixes are referred to as affixes. So today we're going to be talking about bases and suffixes. I could not do the work that I do sharing with you and talking to you about words without brilliant people that I get to learn from. So today's information came from Dr. Pete Bowers at WordWorks Literacy Center, Gina Cook from the Linguistics Educators Exchange, and Fiona Hamilton and Rebecca Lovelace at the High Frequency Word Project. Today we're going to look at do and does. And I know I said we're going to talk about morphology, but I want to take a little minute and talk about the sounds that we hear the letters making, because do and does often gets this reputation that they are irregular, weird, oddball spelling words. And I'm here to tell you and show you that that is not the case. When we hear the word do and we hear the O making the oo sound, can we think of other words where the O is also making that sound, where the grapheme O is making the phoneme oo? And we can think of words like to and who, where the grapheme O is making the same sound. So not really that weird. We can find other words that are doing the same sounds, or the letter is doing the same sound in other words. So then let's look at does. Can we find other words where the grapheme O is actually making this sound? And in fact, we can think of words like from, love, done, all having similar sounds or phonemes inside the word because of the grapheme O. So far, both of those words aren't really doing anything super strange, because we can see that this letter here, this grapheme O, can change its sound depending on the word. What if I told you that does is actually the base word of do, making up the word do, plus the suffix es to be written as does, does? We can also stop and ask ourselves, okay, do we see this suffix es in other words? And we do. We see it in many words, such as catches or glasses. So again, we have does doing something that really isn't odd. There's other examples of English spelling that are doing exactly what this word is doing. Now, I want you to pause this thought, because I'm going to switch gears to a different word. And trust me, they are connected. When we look at the word go and the word goes, we do not distinguish the word goes as an irregular spelling, but it actually is copying the exact same thing that is happening with do and does. Goes is the base word go plus the suffix es is rewritten as goes to make the word goes. So we have one situation with go and goes where most people don't get excited about and say that it's a weird spelling or an irregular word. But we have the exact same thing happening with do and does. And you'll often hear this word being identified as strange or irregular. So back to the two original words we were looking at, do and does, which we now know is do plus es is rewritten as does. Well, let's think for a moment if there's any other words that we think might be part of the do family. And one that comes to mind for me is doing. Did you do the dishes? I am doing the dishes right now. That is built with the base word do, do, plus the suffix ing is rewritten as doing, doing. Let's think again. Are there any other words that could be part of this family? Did you do the dishes? Yes, they're already done. To build this word, we have do as the base plus ne, which is a common suffix to build something called a past participle. And we're not getting into all of that stuff, but trust me when I say there are other words that have ne added to them as a suffix. And that is rewritten as D-O-N-E. Now I'm going to draw your attention to something really quick here. Notice I didn't say do plus N-E is rewritten as done, because that's where we get confused. By just saying the letters out loud, we are not necessarily thinking that the spelling is doing anything weird or odd, because we already know that that grapheme O can make more than one sound. But when we say do plus NE is done, it makes our brains go, wait, what was that? That doesn't make any sense. But if I just say DO plus NE is rewritten as DONE, done, then maybe our brains are a little less confused. Now, we're jumping back over to the word go, because these two words, not related historically in any way, but they are similar in a lot of the word structures that we use to build out the families. So it makes sense for us to look at both of them at the same time. Did you go to the store? I'm going right now. Go plus the suffix ing is rewritten as going, going. Did you go to the store? I have already gone to the store. Go plus ne is rewritten as gone. When we have these word sums, we can create something called a word matrix or a morphological matrix, which shows the base of the word, which is bolded, usually in the middle. And then the prefixes would be, if there were some, to the left of the base word, and the suffixes would be to the right. We didn't look at any prefixes today, so there are no prefixes in our word matrix, either for do or go, but we could add them as we start learning more about these families. So if we're looking just at the word family for do, do, we can build out do by itself as a free base, does, doing, and done. Looking at this word family, we have two different sounds coming from the grapheme O. If we spelt the word does as it sounds, D-U-Z perhaps, as we were reading that, we would not be able to visually see the connection to the base word that helps communicate the meaning of the word to us. That's why spelling is so important, so that our eyeballs and our brains can recognize really quickly how these words might be connected and therefore what it is they might exactly mean. So we don't spell just the way we hear. We have to consider all of the other parts when we're spelling written English. The cool thing about the word do and does is O is the only grapheme that would work across this word family. And it is not unusual for letters to change their pronunciation, graphemes to have different phonemes across word families. That happens all the time. So why is it spelt with an O? Well, because that's the only letter that would work to build out all of these words that live in the D-O, do word family. Thanks, friends. I hope you learned a little today. Please remember to be curious when you come across a word and you're not sure why it's spelt the way it is. That's the invitation to start investigating.